Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to what to eat when you're in Canada, traditional Canadian food. Now, apart from maple syrup, I literally cannot, I'm trying to think, poutine or poutin, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Those are the only two kind of real Canadian foods that I'm aware of. I've not been to Canada before. I really want to go, like hopefully this year. To visit my cousin and just to, Quebec, Toronto, Vancouver. But yeah, I want to, what do I eat? Because I don't want to go there and just eat, like pizzas and burgers and stuff. Unless there's, really good pizza places, which I'm sure there are. But I want to eat, like, proper Canadian food.
Hey there, fellow hungry travelers. Mark here with Walter's World. And today we're here in Toronto. And today we're going to talk about what you should eat and enjoy when you come here to Canada. And I'll be honest with you, there's so many great, tasty treats in this place.
Is that poutine or poutin? Poutin?
That I might get a bit excited and a bit hungry and a bit drooly talking about all the great things that are here, okay? So let's get started. And I think the first thing we have to talk about is really, it's what everyone thinks about when they think of Canadian food, and you think of maple syrup. I mean, there's a maple leaf on the flag. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs is the hockey team here in Toronto. I mean, maple syrup is a thing, and it's not just the fantastic maple syrup that you put on your pancakes when you come here for a great breakfast. Oh, no. It's used as a sweetener. You might have it in mince. You might have it in maple syrup suckers. I mean, there's so much maple syrup flavored in things. It's kind of crazy, but you're going to have it in so many different ways. But
wow, maple syrup on pizza. You know what? I think that could work. Maybe just a drizzle and maybe some chili flakes on top. Oh.
Honestly, for me, if you're at your hotel or you go out for breakfast, just get a big stack of pancakes and just douse in that maple syrup here, and you can't go wrong. That's one thing you have to have when you're here. Also, makes a nice souvenir to take back. But make sure you get a container that will survive the train back or the flight back to where you live. Otherwise, it might be a messy suitcase, okay? The second thing you have to have when you come to Canada is poutine. And poutine is a Quebec classic that now is all over the country. And what it is, it's French fries sprinkled with cheese curds, and they pour gravy on top of it. It's a mess, but it's a wonderful, happy, delicious mess that you're going to have here with your friends as a meal, with a beer or two, whatever, you're going to have it. And the thing is,
I can imagine that being so good, on a cold day. It will fill you
might
up.
Get other things with it. You might get smoked meat on it or bacon on it, or I've seen people put fried chicken stuff on top of it. But poutine, just the base one of the fries, cheese curds, and gravy, is a must-have when you're here. Now, I mentioned putting smoked meat on top of your poutine, but just in general, getting smoked meat when you're here is wonderful. Especially, I was in Montreal, and you had a lot of smoked meat sandwiches, which is just basically, if you like brisket, slow cooked, just melt away, smoked, brisket. Oh my God, it's so good. I'm getting so hungry just thinking about it.
Me too.
Just having a smoked meat sandwich, just bread, smoked meat, mustard is going to be a fantastic thing to get when you're here. But yes, that smoked meat might show up on top of poutine or as a main or something like that. You're gonna love it. So try to get that when you're here. And the thing is, when you go around Canada, it's not like there's one cuisine everywhere. Yes, poutine is all over because it's amazing and wonderful. But in different parts of Canada, you're going to get different kind of things. And one thing that you actually might get back home, you might hear about, are PEI mussels. The mussels from Prince Edward Island are fantastic, and if you can get those steamed mussels, get them as a starter or as a main.
I do love mussels, to be fair, especially on a seafood noodles, like a seafood chow mein.
Well worth it. And the thing is, Canada is huge, and you have coasts on both sides and lakes all over. So actually, seafood and fish and everything is very popular here. So if you're looking for fish, salmon, you can never go wrong with salmon when you're here. It's fantastic. Halibut is wonderful. If you want something different, go for some trout when you're here. So the fish that's here is always going to be a good, healthy option when you do come. Because though I'm going to talk about a lot of heavy food here in Canada, they actually have a lot of really healthy options, a lot of vegetarian options, such as vegan options, and not just, I know fish isn't vegetarian and vegan, but there's a lot of opportunity here to eat in many different ways. But let's stick with the seafood for right now. Some other things you might want to have. Another regional thing, if you're up in Nova Scotia, get into lobster rolls up there.
Oh my God, this looks like heaven to me right now. I've wanted to try a lobster roll for months. I think years, actually. But whenever I go somewhere that has seafood, I always end up getting surf and turf because I'm very, very basic. Like, I always want to get the steak and the lobster. Oh, but this looks so good. Oh my God. How much would this cost me?
Or if you head over to the West Coast, getting the oysters when you're by Vancouver, I mean, there's just seafood after seafood after seafood after seafood that you're going to love. And one of the easiest ways to enjoy it is if you see any kind of seafood chowder.
I do like
when you
chowder.
are at a restaurant for a starter, that's going to be a nice way to start things off. And one thing you have to realize is no matter where you go in Canada, Canada is a country of immigration. And so you have people from all over the world that came here to Canada and they brought their cuisines. And so you could have fantastic food from all over the world when you're visiting, especially if you're going to big cities like here in Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver, you get this cuisines. I mean,
what is that? Is that like a naan bread with some curry on it?
here in Toronto, you got fantastic Korean food, fantastic Chinese food. I mean, just amazing stuff. And when you go around the country, don't be scared to experiment with cuisines you haven't tried before. Never had Afghani food? You can have that here. Not sure what Portuguese cuisine is? Oh my goodness, I had Portuguese food in Montreal that I really thought I was back in Lisbon. I mean, they have that here. So go and explore and try out international cuisines when you're here, because people from all over that have come here to Canada brought their food, not just the food, but the spices and the ways to eat it as well. Now, if you want to move back to some more traditional Canadian kind of things, one thing you have to realize is beef is a thing here in Canada. I mean, Cowtown is Calgary, okay? And you don't get called Cowtown without having a lot of cows. You have a lot of beef here. So steakhouses, getting a good steak here in Canada.
Yep, that is me. I love a steak, man. I love a steak. I know I need to probably reduce my amount of meat intake, but I just can't help it, man. Steak, lamb chops, brisket, kebabs, anything.
Canada is not a problem. Another beef thing that you'll see a lot is actually burgers, which is a kind of a go-to thing when you're going to go out with your buddies, have some burgers and fries. I mean, I know it sounds like, oh, well, that doesn't seem very fancy, but no, here they do the burgers up right in Canada. And we're not talking like McDonald's burgers. We're talking like thick, rich, amazing burgers with tons of cheese and just happiness, happiness, happiness. And the thing is you might get a bacon burger, and I think I need to talk about the whole Canadian bacon thing. It's back bacon here, you'll get that, but you also get normal bacon at breakfast too, so don't think it's only Canadian bacon, that's it.
What does he mean by back bacon? Like, because I know American bacon is different to British bacon. Our bacon is thicker. Is Canadian bacon similar to English bacon in terms of like the thickness of it?
That's back bacon here, okay? Bacon and back bacon, so you'll know the difference, all right? And one of the bacons I think you need to have when you do come here is if you're in Toronto, specifically, if you can get a pea-meal bacon sandwich. If you go down to St. Lawrence Market, there'll be tons of places that sell it. And basically what it is, it's just a, you know, it looks like a ham sandwich, but basically when they slice it up, it tastes like if ham and a bratwurst had a baby. That's what the meat tastes like. And you have that with some mustard on there. Oh my God, it's so good. So one of those things you really want to get when you're here in Toronto is that pea-meal bacon sandwich. Now, if we go to Vancouver, we go out on the West Coast, oh my goodness, the sushi and sashimi, you get in.
I've never seen sushi this color. Like, what is this normal rice or like why is it dark? What is this?
Vancouver. I mean, we're talking like next level. We're talking crazy good. And the thing is, Vancouver is rather expensive, but the sushi and sashimi that you get there is so good, but so affordable for the price. You probably pay 3 or 4 times the price back home to get sushi of that quality that you get at a local place you just walk up to in Vancouver. So if you're going to be in Vancouver, you're going to be in BC, get your sushi, get your sashimi, and just be happy. You're welcome. Now, if we think about the start of the day, we think of breakfast. What do we have for breakfast here in Canada? Well, there's a lot of different things you can have. There's eggs, there's bacon, there's all those kind of things. But I think if you want to get like a truly like Canadian breakfast.
I've not eaten today, and watching this, I'm having to drink this tea to just like kind of kill my appetite. I am starving right now.
Kind of thing. One, obviously pancakes with that fantastic maple syrup. Yes, that's always good. If you get blueberries in it, that's even better, you know, you have that. But I think it's really important that you actually have bagels when you're here. Montreal bagels, they're different than the bagels if you think about New York style. They're smaller, they're a little bit sweeter, which really impacts the flavor and the mixtures when you put a different spread on there. So that's something to think about for your breakfast when you're here. You just get the bagels, pancakes, you'll be good to go. Now, another thing you want to have are donuts. Yes, I know it sometimes sounds like a joke that like, oh, Canada, they get their donuts all the time. They do, but they make really good donuts here. And it's not just going to Tim Hortons to get donuts. It's any donut place you can go is going to be respectable. There's not really bad donuts when you get here. I always like to get my maple dip where just the top's covered in the maple like glaze, kind of not glaze, but like icing. Oh, it's so good. And I know I mentioned Tim Hortons, and I know.
Yeah, Tim Hortons, that's like a big Canadian brand. I think there's one in London. I think there's one in central London, if I'm not mistaken. I need to pop in there. I think they're everywhere in Canada, right? Like it's like almost the Canadian McDonald's, I think.
No, Tim Hortons isn't what it used to be. We all have our weak spots,
Oh,
right? But if you
what's
want to
wrong
go
with
to something more of a Canadian kind of tradition, I guess you'd put it, is you go to Tim Hortons to get your coffee and get your Timbits, which are little donut holes, and you can get them
Timbits.
individually. So you don't have to buy like 100 of them at a time. You can get 5 or 6 and then get a maple dip and you'll be good to go. And the coffee is, acceptable. So there is that. And I bring up Tim Hortons because
so
when you
it's not
drive
that
around the
great.
country, you will see it all over. That's kind of like your go-to coffee shop, sandwich shop, donut shop. So you can get that. And what's
So it's more like the Canadian Starbucks.
cool here in Canada, donuts aren't just for breakfast. You can have it any time of the day. I was walking back from the bars last night, and there was a Tim Hortons open, and I could have gotten a donut about 10:30 at night. So now, since donuts are kind of sweet, I think that makes a good transition to talk about some of the sweets you should have when you come here to Canada. And one of the things is a beaver tail. And beaver tails, really, if you think about it, they're originally from Ottawa. Like, that's a big Ottawa thing. And what it is, it's like a stretched out piece of dough that they deep fry and they put different toppings on top. I go for the classic, the cinnamon sugar on there, but some people put Nutella on there, some people put chocolate on there, or bananas and stuff. I mean, caramel. There's all kinds of things you can have. It's messy, but it's delicious. And now the chain is kind of expanded. So it's not just an Ottawa treat now. You can get it here in Toronto, you can get it other places, so that's really nice. Another thing that I recommend that you can find pretty much all over the country are butter tarts. And what a butter tart is, it's in different sizes.
Oh man, these are pecans, right? Or pecans? How do you pronounce it? But yeah, I love pecans.
Size might be this big, might be this
Flavor.
big, but think about a little tiny tart, or a little tiny pie, and the inside is this butter, sugary, gooey goodness. It's fantastic to have. And when you get them, you'll see that sometimes they'll be with raisins and sometimes they'll be with like pecans or nuts on them. I'm a nut one, but the raisin ones too, and people debate which one's better. If you're from Canada, please tell us down in the comments below what's better, the raisin or the nut version of the butter tarts. Because honestly, St. Lawrence Market, I got both of them, and I had the raisin one, was like, oh my God, this is so good. And then I had the pecan, the one with pecans on top, and I'm like, oh, this is even better. So I guess I'm team nut. So you have that. But butter tarts are definitely something you want to have
God.
here as a sweet treat.
My stomach, you probably can't hear it because the mic is a little bit my stomach is growling.
Another one you'll see, and this is one that became famous, I think, from Vancouver, is the Nanaimo bar. And the Nanaimo bar, it's about this thick. It looks like kind of like a brownie when you see it cut up, but it's not a brownie. What it is the base layer is like chocolate graham cracker, and then there's like a custard in the middle, and then there's like a hard chocolate ganache on top. So when you bite into it, some of the stuff's kind of squeezed out the side, but it is really tasty to grab one, so I recommend that. Also, my personal favorite sweet treat here in Canada is salmon candy. You don't find it
Salmon
everywhere. Going to the
candy.
markets in Vancouver.
Wow, fish candy. I've never. This is totally new to me. Totally new. I'm guessing they cure it, so it's like hard.
Vancouver and around there, that's where I've had the best luck finding it. And what it is, it's smoked salmon, and then it's been kind of like
jerky.
left in maple syrup, of course, or to sweeten up. And when you have it, yes, it's really sweet. It sounds like it wouldn't be right, but it's amazing. So make sure you get that if you have a chance to get it. My son Liam wants me to remind you that there are other sweet treats here as well. His favorite were actually cow chips that we got at Anne of Green Gables' house in Green Gables in Prince Edward Island. And all that is just potato chips covered in chocolate. So hey, how can you go wrong with that? The salt and the sweet, it's wonderful. Now,
Man, honestly, like if I could, I wish I could eat whatever I want and not put weight on. I wish I could. I really wish I could.
speaking of potato chips, there's also another kind of snack you might want to try that you might not have back home, and that's ketchup chips. And no, I'm not talking about taking
Ketchup
potato chips and
chips?
dipping it in ketchup. It's ketchup flavoring on potato chips, which is actually oddly good, which I
think
thought was
it
really
would
weird at
work,
first, but I
yeah.
had it, I'm like, oh, I see what you have here. It's actually
Yeah, a buddy of mine called Jesse. He lives in Canada. He's from Canada. We worked together at a school years ago. Said he's going to send me some over. I'm actually really looking forward to those.
something you should have. They'll sell them at the corner stores, the 7-Elevens, the
Ketchup
Dippin' Doos.
chips.
Like, you can get them all over. It's not a problem. I mean, it's so popular. I saw a Doritos version of it, but I wasn't that brave to try it. It's best with just the ketchup chips, ketchup potato chips, okay? And If we start moving on to some other things you might want to have, let's look at the drinking you want to have when you're here. One thing that's great about Canada is whenever you go out to eat, they're going to give you water, okay? They'll just give you water, which is nice. The tap water is perfect here in Canada. You can drink it anytime you want. Bring your water bottle and just refill it. You don't have to buy bottled water here because the tap water is fantastic on its own, so you can be healthy and drink water. But if you don't want to be healthy, may I suggest the beer in Canada? Because Canadians love their beer, and that great, pure, wonderful water makes great, pure, wonderful beer. And all throughout the country, you have tons of...
That looks like an IPA. Oh my God, it looks so good. Boy, I need to get to Canada. I do need to get to Canada. Like this year, I'm doing Dallas, hopefully Brazil, and I think Canada would be amazing.
Craft breweries you can go to, local beers all over that you can enjoy. Yes, there's macro brews that are great. There's micro brews that are great. There's craft beers that are great, so you can really enjoy it. The one thing I will tell you, the beer here in Canada a lot of times is stronger than it is, especially if you're looking at U.S. beers. So where you're thinking, oh, I can have 4 or 5 beers, no problem, to go out with my friends, you might be on the floor after 4 or 5 beers here. So do be careful with the alcohol here. Now, another thing you might...
What's the usual percentage? Like here, I think a beer is about 4.5%. An IPA might be 5.5, I think.
See, when you're at the bars or one of the happy hours, the Sunka sets around the country, is it's called a Caesar cocktail. Basically, it's just a Bloody Mary with some clam juice in it. Maybe I've seen people put a chicken wing on the top. I mean, you have that if you're looking for something that's an over-the-top looking drink when you come here. But it's basically a Bloody Mary with clam juice. It's not like crazy different, but it's something people do have. And when you come here to Canada, one thing you need to realize is when you go out to eat, the service will be very friendly, but you do need to remember, you actually do tip when you come here to Canada. So if you pay with a credit card, they'll give you an option. It's usually 18%, 20%, or 22%.
Wow. So in that sense, it's similar to America with the tipping culture. Okay. So you need to factor that into your budget if you're going to be going out a lot. Do you need a tip with like takeout food? If you're taking food away?
In general, you're going to tip between 15 and 20%. You can choose what to tip, but just know that when they give you the card thing back, there's those 3 already ready for you, okay? So be aware of that as well. Also, you might have sales tax as well to add on to the price. So be aware that the price you see on the menu might not be the price you pay when you leave the store, okay? Or you leave, I should say, when you leave the restaurant, all right? So I know I missed a lot of great food when I was on here. We only have so much time we can put in these videos. So if you have other great foods here in Canada that you think people should have...
My God, I am hungry. Man, I am really, really hungry right now. Like, really hungry. I'm on a diet because I put on a bit of weight over Christmas. But man, this really makes me want to cheat the diet. I'm going to have to be really, really disciplined today. I really want to go get like a big burger with bacon, onion, everything. Maybe even a fried egg in there, like a bunch of fries. I want to get a steak. Oh my God, this video was, I'm so hungry. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.